What up? Another Strider talk. This time we're going to be talking about Strider collabs. So what am I talking about? So one of the cool things about Strider and the Strider community that I remember back in the day was that Strider Knives was very, very good with doing collaborations with other makers. And it's not just knife makers. And that really kind of had a huge community around the product, and it was really cool. So there was a couple of things that, didn't really pique my interest. A lot of high-end jewelry is the best way to describe it, by Starling Gear. Again, they made some awesome stuff, but some of the pricing on their stuff was really high because they're using precious metals, and it's all handcrafted. But they made some really cool decorative lanyards and beads and accessories. And then there was another company that we're going to talk about. So one of the cool parts about Strider is that they do this flame anodization here, which is a process where I believe Strider does heat treat the titanium to some degree. And when they finish it, they either bead blast it to get that, Striders have this like chalkboard feeling on the knife, on the titanium side, and then they flame anodize these tiger stripes or zebra stripes. I've heard them called, a million different things, but it just goes with the whole tiger stripe blade, and then you got the flame striped TI side. It's really cool. It wears awesome. It looks good. It's very unique. No other knife has this type of finish. It's better than like a coating or Cerakote or whatever, because it just wears and it gets character over the years. Even their raw titanium that they have, it looks amazing. So one of the collabs that really piqued my interest though was a small company at the time called Lenslight. So Lenslight did a collab, quite a few collabs with Strider knives. And this is one of them. So this is the KO model. As far as I could tell, Lenslight was a US made, small company out of California. They were making, at the time, some really cool, innovative flashlights. So let's talk a little bit more about Lenslight. So Lenslight, I owned a couple of the Lenslight models. I never actually had a Striderized, that's what we used to call it back in the day, was Striderized. Never actually had a Striderized Lenslight. But I did have a anodized black aluminum model in the Mini. And then I also had a black KO, which is the 2-cell CR123 light. And I always had my eye on one, and before I knew it, they were gone. And we'll talk a little bit about why I think they left towards the end of the video. But let's just look at this light. And if you notice, it's got the same flame anodized. And Strider recently is in a newer model, SMF, that their flaming has been more uniform. Now, back in the day, it used to look more like this. Kind of just random and uneven, almost like it was still on fire. Really, really cool. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe that Lenslight would send these flashlight bodies to Strider, and Strider would do this flaming for them. I don't know if this is an early model, a late model. There's not a lot of information on these anymore, unfortunately. And what you do find is just Reddit posts about people asking what happened and blah, blah, blah. But I do remember back in the day, there would be a dual logo. It would have the Strider logo on the top and then the Lenslight logo on the bottom, which they had an amazing logo. So this model is a 2-cell 123 lithium. Take a look at it. I recently got this And I saw it. I've been on the hunt for one of these for a while, and I saw it. It popped up, and I snagged it, and within minutes. You can see there, this thing is basically brand new. Runs on two 123 lithiums. They always recommended Surefire. I don't know if they had any affiliation with Surefire or Surefire. I know the Surefire also was in California. I don't know if they were, helping them out. But there's a lot of Surefire in these lights that I could tell. The O-rings, the thread pitch, even the tail cap looks like an old 6P. I believe the activation button is a Surefire button. It looks identical to some of my other Surefire, old school Surefire lights. Even the switch, who knows? I don't know if Lenslight was buying it from them or if they were helping them out, but yeah, there's a lot of Surefire in these lights. So back in the day, they had a pretty unique idea on flashlights. And I remember listening to some of the old advertisements about Lenslight, and I believe the guys at the company all started in Hollywood production, film production. So they had what's called an aspherical lens, that gives you. You're not gonna be blown away by this, guys. I'm just letting you know right now. This is an old light from like 2009, 2010, maybe even earlier. It's 440 lumens on low and 5 or 4.5 lumens. I'm sorry, it's 440 lumens on high and 5 lumens or 4.5 lumens on low. But the light that this produces is extremely color accurate. And again, them being film guys, I'm sure you're noticing that, I'm shining this light at this knife and it's not washing out the camera because it's a very even white kind of natural sunlight light. And I always appreciated these lights, not as like tactical lights, even though they basically were, just for inspection lights. Looking for, if I'm doing anything specific in the house, building electronics, trying to see in between threads or inspect something, like when I'm building my radios. If you look, you can see the color differences a lot more now. Like this plastic is obviously a different color. You can see the Delrin on the antennas. Like it's a very color accurate type of light. And that's because these guys were film guys. So their claim to fame was the aspherical lens. So what this does is nothing new. I mean, we've all seen this 1,000 times. Is it gives you a very wide and then a very tight hot spot. And even though this is only 440 lumens, this thing will still kick light at 100, 200 yards easily. And again, you're getting a very color accurate daytime light. The other thing I liked about Lenslight was that their low was very low. Very, very low. Just super, super, super nice for filming, for doing stuff where you need accurate light and not a lot of it. Walking around the house, you don't want to wake up your wife, etc., etc., etc. And also, because of the lens, you can project this low light really far. So, not many use cases now. I mean, modern lights are, leaps and bounds from what this was. But if you look, this has got a lot of green, it's got a very cool green-white LED. And again, this is what I tend to carry every day because it's got USB-C and it's got a power status indicator. And this is the this is the Streamlight Wedge XT. It's a great light. Buy them on Amazon. And I think that is what killed Lenslight. Is not that they didn't make great stuff. The machining on this is amazing. It really is. It's on the same level as Strider knives. Like the clip, stiff. Super, super nice machining, very buttery smooth on the activation of that. You can see the logo still lines up in the same spot, whether it's all the way out or all the way in. Just like attention to detail, American made, old school flashlight. Even though it's not the best and the brightest, it's still a great light. And it has the connection to Strider that, I'm a very big fan of Strider knives. It brings back a lot of memories and, of me getting into knives. And Lenslight was a part of that. So I'm very happy to have this. And, yeah, I'm going to try not to carry it every day so I don't get banged up. But I was carrying it today. And I use a flashlight, more than the average Joe. It's kind of like a necessity to have, I won't leave the house unless I have at least a flashlight and a knife of some sort. So, yeah, we'll just take a look at it again one more time up close. You can look at that striderization. Titanium flashlight. And then we'll talk a little bit about what I think happened to Lenslight. I think Lenslight just got they got killed by technology. I think China was coming out with better and better and better and better lights. I know Nightcore was really popular back in the day. They had some Nightcore PDs, which was a smart piston design that didn't have a tail cap. It was very, very innovative light. They ran on a AA. It was super, 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 super cool back in the day. And I think just because, they were a small manufacturer. Yes, they did have the collabs, and they had they had a kit that had, a Lenslight Mini, a Starling Gear Bead. It came in a Delrin machine box with the Strider S&G. It was an amazing, amazing collab. And, between trying to keep up with doing stuff like that and also looking at the flashlight technology and trying to keep things relevant. They didn't use reflectors. Like I said, this is an aspherical lens. It's glass. It's heavy duty. They had them with this bezel and without the crenulated bezel. But again, like I said, the Maglite had an adjustable head light. They didn't have a lens, but they had an adjustable head that you could move the optic back and forth to give you a tighter or narrower or wide beam. So, the idea of it existed for a while, but the implementation didn't, Now we have, LEPs or laser emitted phosphor or laser excited phosphor lights and high candela and turbo this and the flashlight game is, a tough game. And Surefire back in the day, a lot of people don't know, but Surefire lights were extremely slow to catch up. They were selling 100 lumen lights when you could buy 3 and 400 lumen lights. And it took a Surefire a long, 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 long time to sell LED lights. I have Surefire lights that don't have LEDs in them when LEDs were available. They still sold incandescent bulb flashlights, and they dragged that product out as long as they could, because I think they knew in order to survive you have to be slow, and I don't think that Lenslight could afford to do that, and it's a shame. I really wish that they were still around. I think they had a great product back then. I still think this is a great product. I just wish that they took the Surefire route and just kept chugging along with the, they could have changed out LEDs. They could have done, different lenses. They could have had, TIR lenses. There's all kinds of things they could have done. I do see a lot of similarity. This style definitely has been copied by other companies, but no one really makes a light like this, and these things are rare. I've been looking for this specific model for like 4 years, So people have them. They're not getting rid of them. They're holding on to them. Makes a lot of sense because they're not really pinnacle technology, and they're just like collector items now. But I will be keeping this as long as I have Strider knives. I will have a Lenslight.